يا هلا، يحياهم يحياهم. هلا هلا بعلاوي، هلا بالياس، هلا هلا بعلي، هلا hello Margarita, hello my friend. Alex, speak English please. hello Doc. هلا والله، هلا 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 بحسوني، مشتاقين حبيب. هلا هلا ابو حسين، هلا بالاستاذ. رمضانك مبارك حبيب. هلا غالي. هلو هلو أليكس. هلو دكتور أمثال. هلو بيجان. حبيبي أبو خطاف، حبيب القلب. يا هلا. So I'm waiting the guys to jump. هلا أبو دانية، منور الكبير. Okay, we have Campanos here. يا هلا ألف هلا بمصر.
Hello, hello, Hassan.
Hello, hello my friend. Hello Campanos.
How are you?
I'm good my friend. How are you? How is
Fine.
everything?
I'm a little bit sad because Greek national team just lost a game for the Euro
Okay.
qualifiers.
We have experienced this before. We have our national team in soccer. We also like lost, and it's not fair. We lost.
We lost in
because the
penalties,
was corrupted
so
here.
it's a knife in the heart.
Yeah, I know how it hurts. I know. Hello, hello, Abdullah. We're just waiting for yes. This is Zain. Is jumping again. Yeah.
Hello everyone.
Hello, Zayn.
Dr. Hassan.
حبيبي حبيبي.
How are you?
Hello. How are you? How are you guys? So, before we start, I will just give a little brief about what's gonna happen tonight, okay? Because we are hosting you two guys, two champion, two gladiator, okay? But you are not fighting each other today. You are fighting as a team today, okay? To give as much as knowledge as possible to the colleagues here, okay? So the live show is gonna start like this, okay? Dr.ZRZ, okay? He's a colleague of mine. He's a part of لايف team. He's a very active member in our team, okay? And he also a lecturer in my course. Dr. Zain Sajjad will start to talk about like the foundation, how to make a class 2 restoration or generally a posterior composed restoration. He will start to talk about the basics, the foundation, how to make the cavity, where to start, where to end, and how to go for band selection, multiple scenarios about bands and matrices, okay? So then after that, okay, then Nicholas will jump to the live again, and Nikos will show us like his artistic work in a very scientific foundational way, in a very functional way. Nikos, he's a very professional dentist from Greece, from Athens. You are from Athens, right?
From Athens, right?
Yeah, from Athens. I know him since 2 years. It happens not by occasion, but sometimes I feel like it's occasion. And now I have him like
It's karma, I believe.
Yeah, it's also karma. Yeah.
Karma.
Yeah. Both guys here, they are very passionate dentists, okay? So we will start with Zain, okay? Dr. Nikos will leave us for a few minutes, okay? Then 20 to 25 minutes. Then after that, Nikos will take the mic and Zain will leave. Then we will finish all the three together, okay? With the questions, I will ask question and you guys, you ask question also, because I want also to learn from these two champions, okay? So, Nikos, we will say bye-bye for now. Zain.
Super. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Habibi.
Bye-bye,
Zain,
Habibi.
Bye-bye, Habibi. Zain, show us your laptop and show us the magic, please.
Definitely. Okay.
Good evening. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Before you start, guys, if you want, just you just put your fingers on the comments and you just flip it down. It will almost disappear because I don't want to close it, because the last time we closed the comments, a lot of people couldn't like mention their friends. So we need this to, so people that can mention their friends and can join again, okay? This is the thing. So please, we're not gonna close the comment. Yeah, you just swipe it down, okay? Just swipe it down and it will almost disappear. Okay, so the mic is yours, my friend Zain. Go.
Hello, my friends and colleagues. At first, I'd like to introduce myself. As Dr. Hassan did very well, I don't want to wait to take too much time of that. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Z.RZ. I am part of Dr. Lay's team, and proudly I was part of another great team, which is Al-Khama'il from another team. Now I'm mainly only part with Dr. Lay's team. As you can see, I was fat, a little bit fat. So obviously they are starving us here in Dr. Lay's team. Yeah, so basically I shared a video with you guys 2 days ago of what are the topics you want to discuss in this live, and the opinion were different. So I want to gather and cover as much information as I can. Okay, our webinar today will be mainly on how to manage your quadrants, tips and tricks of how to manage, how the strategy will work with the quadrant, how to get it efficiently done, and in case of time, and the more proper contact you will get. So let me first talk with you guys. In my case, when I first started to do class 2 restorations, I was going on the social media and seeing all these amazing cases, all these amazing pictures and steps for each step you're doing your cavity, for each step you're doing your composite buildup. And I was amazed. I tried to do that, and this is what I end up with. You can see it's not a perfect cavity. It's not a perfect class 2. Why is that? Now, there's so much important things you need to focus on. Firstly, the foundation. As Dr. Celine said before, if you are building a house, the most important thing is your foundation. If your foundation is not good enough, then your house will fall down eventually. So this is a case for me. I think 2019, I shared it on social media. Even though I've got a nice result at the end, but the patient, as I think, will not appreciate it so much, because this cavity will not last for long, as you can see, because it has so many flaws. So guys, pay close attention to the foundation before even jump into the tricks that we're going to talk about. The first most important thing we need to learn is the cavity design. The cavity must not have any sharp edges, must not have any unsupported enamel, and also we need to flare up the cavity, obviously, to reduce the C factor. So once we get this thing in our mind, then we can start easily. For me, when I started to do the cavity, when I started to do the class 2 restorations, previously, like 3 years ago, it usually took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours just to do a simple class 2 restorations. Why is that? Because I want to perfect each and every step I do. Okay? So, but nowadays, I can do a simple class 2 with only 20 to 30 minutes maximum. Of course, a big thanks to Dr. Hassan, because he's my mentor and he's been with me for each and every step. So guys, what I want to tell you, do not be amazed what every dentist shares on social media. Don't be in my place. I got pushed up. I went and opened a whole quadrant from the second premolar to the canine even. And then the first thing I was facing is, okay, where do I start next? All these cavities in front of me, and I didn't know where to start. So hopefully this lecture will help you to get tips of how to start and when to start, and how to get the most predictable result you can get that your patient will hopefully appreciate. As we mentioned, we talked here shortly about the cavity design. Now, this is the cavity that we need to achieve before even starting to do any matrix selection or class 2 buildups. Okay, so these are the main topics for today. We're going to learn about we're going to talk shortly about the back-to-back technique, and we need to learn about what are the major benefits of this technique, and how we can compensate for the disadvantages of this technique. And we're going to talk about the multiple cavities, class 2 cavities, and how to manage the space between the teeth. Okay? So firstly, what do I mean by back-to-back? Back-to-back is when restoring both proximal walls at the same time. Okay? We have, let's say, a distal cavity in the first premolar and a mesial cavity in the second premolar, and we are restoring it at the same time. So for demonstration, let's see this case. Okay, hidden caries, proximal caries in the mesially to the first molar and distally to the second premolar. We're starting by drilling the cavity, obviously, and as you can see here, all the main topics that we talked about in the cavity design apply to this case. But although I made a small mistake that we're going to share and learn from it together at the end of this case. Now, different photos from each perspective. I hope that the picture is clear enough for you guys. Now, for me, this is the one trick to share with you guys, because we need this a lot. Like, I am using this like in every day, in every case, which is the modification of our matrix, of our band, which is very, very important. It happens so often that we don't have the right matrix for the right case, so we need to modify. I actually do modify a lot of my matrices. So in this case, just for demonstration, the depth of the cavity is about 4 millimeters, okay? Or 3.5 millimeters. But what do I have in my hand was a medium contoured matrix, which would result eventually in a much higher contact area. What do I need is to make it a small contoured matrix. So this trick will help you a lot, guys, to learn how to cut and modify your matrix. As you can see, it's almost 6 millimeters. So you grab your turbine, you grab your diamond bear, and start to cut from the gingival part of the matrix, so that you can bring the contact area down a little bit. And as you can see, the height of the band was just adjusted. And now, the first thing you need to notice when you're placing both bands in the back-to-back technique is that the band will touch each other just before placing a wedge and your ring. If they are not touching each other, that means the contour of this matrix is not enough. And what would happen eventually is that when you're placing your ring, the two matrices will rotate to end up meeting on much higher contact point. And we don't need that to happen. And another thing, when you're doing a back-to-back class 2's technique, well, when you're doing a simple class 2, it's easy. You can measure the height of your marginal ridge with the adjacent tooth and make it at the same level. In such case, to avoid any high contact that you will get after you finish your occlusal anatomy and the marginal ridge. But in this case, we don't have an adjacent marginal ridge. So what we need to think, well, first of all, the matrix, the occlusal part of the matrix is concave, so that gives us the slope, the recommended slope for our marginal ridge. But at the same time, we need to take care and take notice on each point, which is the areas where the matrix meets the buccal and palatal slopes of each cusp. The matrix should be at the same height or slightly above this point, not too much above and definitely not lower than this point. And as you can see, after placing the wedge and the ring, we need firstly to do is the IDS, resin coating, and replacing a single wall at a time. We replace the first molar wall firstly, then remove its band, remove the ring, and placing the ring again to replace the second premolar wall. Why we do that? Well, basically, the purpose of placing a ring first is to separate between the teeth, to provide enough separation to compensate for the thickness of the matrix. In case we are using two matrices at the same time, it's almost like 100 micrometer, which is too much for the ring to be compensated. Okay, so we need to restore one wall, and then we go back to remove the matrix and replace the ring and replace the other wall, and we left with a simple class 1 to do our occlusal anatomy. As you can see, the case finished here. Now, as I mentioned before, this case have some flaws. One of it, as you can see, although the contact height is very good, but the occlusal embrasure was not good enough. Now, why did that happen? I didn't notice that my matrices, after I placed the ring, did not have enough curvature at the occlusal side. So, therefore, I didn't get enough occlusal embrasure. Now, the major drawback of this technique that you cannot finish your proximal wall after you replace them both. You don't have enough space to give the proper occlusal embrasure. So this disadvantage we can compensate later on in the next strategies, which allows us to actually modify and finish our proximal wall. And by doing more than one wall at a time, we will come to make our time, chairside time would be eventually shorter. Okay, so can we get a better result like this one, which have a great contact height and a great occlusal embrasure? Yes, we can. How about when we're dealing with a quadrant? Can we still get this result with an efficient amount of time? Well, definitely yes. Let's see together. For example, this case with the multiple cavities, we have it, as you can see, the second premolar to the first, from the second molar to the first premolar. As I'd like to say always, I start to drill my cavities or finish my marginal, finish my gingival seats before I even place my rubber dam. In this case, we have an old composite restoration. So I highly doubted that there would be some secondary caries, obviously, and might be some deep margin in this case. So I finished first the gingival seats. As you can see here, there is the caries, and there's the demineralized enamel. We can later on finish it. And then place my rubber dam. And as you can see here, this is the cavity that we want to achieve. You have to achieve this look. Now, I'm not pushing you to go and open a whole quadrant at first. Now, you need to obviously perfect the matrix selection. Firstly, the cavity design and the matrix selection, and perfect doing back-to-back technique with the most efficient time. And then, if you feel like you have it under control, you can go on to the next step and trying to do quadrants, such in these cases. And this is the cavities that we're looking for before even start to select our cases. Now, for the first strategy, as you can notice, we can build two walls at a time without needing for separation. What I mean, take a look at this. We can replace the wall for this first molar and also the wall for the first premolar distally by using this method, placing the matrix, placing the wedge, and to compensate for the other function of the ring, because it's not just separating between the tooth, it's also bend the matrix in a proper way and bend the matrix in a desired way to get the most contour or the most desired contour of the proximal wall. Okay, so we are using as you can see here, a spot welding to help to hold the matrix in its place and form. And as you can see, I didn't need to do any separation in this scenario. Why? Because I still have the second premolar mesially and distally open cavities. I can use the separation here to restore these walls. And as you can see, the major advantage of this scenario that I can go ahead and finish my proximal wall after I build it. And in this case, when I finished the first molar and the second premolar, the first premolar, I can finish those walls and give it first of all to get rid of any excess composite buccally and lingually easily, and then to give it the most proper occlusal embrasure. And sometimes when we use a higher contour matrix, especially in such case when we have too much space between the two teeth, we need obviously to choose a higher contoured matrix. And the thing that comes along with the higher contoured matrix is that we end up, if we leave it just like this, we end up with too much pointed contact area, which will result eventually in pointed, not flat, not, let's say, wide, tight contact. So what this technique allows us, we can even flatten the proximal wall from the side by finishing it with the discs. As you can see here, I started with the coarse bare, rough bare, as you can see here, and finishing the excess composite from buccal side and the palatal side. Now, why is that? Obviously, when I use the matrix without any ring, there's going to be a buccally, occlusal buccally, some excess composite. And if you haven't etched or boned this enamel well, you need to remove all this excess composite because eventually it will leak here and will cause some secondary caries. We're starting with a rough disc, finishing buccally and lingually, and as you can see here, I'm finishing to give it the occlusal impression, starting with a coarse disc, and then go with a fine disc. This advantage here we cannot get in the back-to-back technique. It's a fast technique, I know, but being able to finish the proximal wall like this is also very, very beneficial. As you can see here, going with the much finer bare to finish the proximal wall, and you can go on later to use enhanced disc or even eve twist as the polishing step. Now, this is the proximal walls that we need to achieve. As I told you before, I restored first the first molar mesially and the first premolar distally at the same time without using any ring. And then by restoring the second premolar, by placing a band here and a band here, wedge, and ring, restoring this wall, putting the ring here and restoring the other wall, I got the most predictable result with the least amount of time I can possibly do. Now, let's see another scenario where I can, okay, this is the final result. This is the contact that I got. As you can see, this occlusal impression is very hard to get when using back-to-back techniques. Now, let's see another scenario. It's all the same idea, but in this case, I'm going to use a different method. I'm going to start with the second premolar first. As you can see here, drill the cavity before even start to place my rubber dam, and then finish the cavities. As you can see here, I went ahead and did my IDS and resin coating just to protect the dentine. And now this is the important step. Now, instead of replacing mesially to the first molar and distally to the first premolar, I went ahead and replaced both walls of the second premolar. As you can see here, the same method applied. I used spot welding technique to hold the bands in its place. Now, there is a small, let's see, error happened when I did this mistake, and you need to pay attention closely to this one. As you place your bands and you're storing the wall, the band should be in a perfect place so that, let's see here, the band should be in a perfect place so that it won't overly contoured and take place of this cavity, and not overly contoured at the same time from this cavity. And at the same time, I don't want it to be under contoured, because if it's under contoured, I will be left with so much larger space to be compensating by one wall, which would be in this case would be the first molar. Let's go ahead and see. After I finished both walls on the second premolar, as I said, passively without using a ring, as you can see here, because of the space I left to deal with for the first premolar is too large, because I accidentally under contoured the second premolar. As you can see here, my matrix did not touch the wall properly. When I placed the ring, it rotated and it contacted the already built wall at so much high contact point. So it was too high, too small. What I needed to do to compensate for that is using a higher contoured matrix, and in this case was BioClear was the choice. As you can see here, I finished up the first premolar, and then the same thing applied to the first molar. Actually, I did the second premolar distally under contoured, so I need a higher contoured matrix for the first molar to be able to compensate for that wall. And as you can see here, each wall I finished, as I finished this one and finished this one, I did the same sequence, rough or coarse bare, then fine bare, and then finishing it. It left me with such good result and good natural looking and functioning, let's say, proximal walls. Okay, I hope it's clear, guys, with you. If you have any questions, do not hesitate. Leave it in the comment. We'll go after that and answering it, obviously. And this is by finishing this case. As you can see, the occlusal anatomy, and my friend and brother Nicholas will show you how to get, after finishing your proximal contact, how to get such occlusal anatomy, and most importantly, what are the importance of this, what are the function of this occlusal anatomy. So I hope that was good enough for you guys. I tried to cover as much information as possible because the time was limited, and I hope I shared with you good tips and tricks. One more thing I just wanted to say at the end, guys. When you see yourself at a good level of dentistry, do yourself and the patient a favor. Whenever you start to look at your, let's say, matricing system, and you see, okay, that's good enough, ask yourself this question: is there a better result I can get? This way that you can push yourself forward in much case after case, and with the time you will see that your previous work, you will not convinced with it anymore, and with the time you can see yourself getting even better and better. So back to you, Nikos.
Where is Nikos? Wait, thank you, man. Stay with us. Stay with us for a couple of minutes. There's a lot of questions in the comments, but I write down some of them, okay? And some of them, like I also made my own questions, okay? But I will back to you at the end for questions, okay? So the questionnaire things, the interrogation points, we will make it at the end, okay? Without torturing. Okay. So thank you again, Zain.
Thank you,
Zain.
You were amazing.
Thank you, man.
Always amazing and proud. Zain, you will leave us for like 20 to 30 minutes until our friend Nikos here finish his magic. Then we back again to you, Habibi.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Tell me if you can see everything. I think that you're right there. Okay.
Yes. Show something at the beginning, so we make sure that everything is.
So I will start with some things just to know me better. Okay. As you mentioned, I'm from Greece.
Yes.
Everything started in 2016 when I graduated from the dental school of the University of Athens.
Right.
Here you can see my graduation photo. I had black hair right there. Now everything is white.
I would get like this, man. You should be younger.
So everything started with my career when I met this girl, Alexandra, Dr. Alex. He hosted her in the last webinar on Friday, talking about the anterior composite. And she was the one that found my talent in mopping the floor. Okay, I was excellent in that. So it was my opportunity to become dental assistant in a very talented young girl. And I mentioned this for the assistants in my dental office. Look, guys, we start from the bottom. Show some patience. No, I'm just kidding. After many years, of course, besides being my mentor, I know that she doesn't like that, but Alexandra, you are my mentor, you know that. After all these years,
that, man.
I consider her something like my best friend or my dental family. Okay, it's my dental sister, and we run together a clinic, Smile Aesthetics, that is concentrated in restorative and aesthetic dentistry in the anterior and posterior zone. Now, that was about me. Let's go to the topic today. Okay, posterior anatomy, which is the process that we have a cavity like this, and with specific morphological rules. Okay, we create an anatomical restoration that it works inside the occlusion of mouth. Okay, and the question here, of course, is does it worth giving time? Okay, to start from a cavity like this, and now I can see a small mistake after Zane's webinar in my cavity design, and spend some time, okay, to create this kind of anatomy and have this final intraoral result. The answer, of course, as you may think, is that yes, it does. And today we're going to talk about why it is important and how we're going to learn to do it in a proper way. Okay. And I know what is the problem that most of the people have, because I speak with dentists in the social media and from my students in the seminars, is that it's a big disappointment starting from this kind of cavities, okay, and spending a lot of time to create a 3D anatomy like this that looks very natural, like real teeth. And after that, when you continue with the internal adjustments, to ruin everything, okay, and all this time, all this process to go in vain. And I want to be super clear here. Many dentists have misunderstood something, okay? Don't expect to create from zero, from cavities, a 3D anatomy like this, okay? Spend some time to create 3D anatomy. And then when you go to intraoral adjustments, to have zero corrections, okay? This is impossible. And to be honest, when it happens, because sometimes it can happen, okay? It's just a result of pure luck, okay? We're not magicians, we are dentists, okay? But so what is our goal? Our goal is all this effort that we give to create the anatomy when it comes to intraoral corrections, to have the minimal possible corrections in a way that we will have to intervene the less possible to the final result. Okay, so we create a 3D anatomy that will lead to a predictable reduction and a predictable corrections at the end. So, in a few words, what we want is to create a beautiful composite restoration, right? Right, Hassan?
Yeah. I have a question before you
Okay.
start.
Okay.
Until now, this is the introduction for you, right?
Yes.
So look, for Zain, I know like Zain is doing not only nice, it's super perfect, amazing morphology, and you do your own also. Each one of you guys has his own fingerprint, okay? But my question is for you, like how much time do you spend for each occlusal table, like for upper molar, for lower molar? 20, 30 minutes?
Look, I will analyze this also in the next stages, but it won't take more than 20 minutes. Okay.
Perfect.
It's a great question, and I want to make this clear also, because many dentists are afraid of that. Okay, it's like a chain. Okay, in this chain, inside this chain, it will take more time for the correct diagnosis, for the correct caries removal, correct and proper isolation, the issue that Celine talked about. Okay, the correct matrix selection, and at the end we will have morphology. But all the other steps, which are more important, to be honest, okay, they will take more time, okay? And you will see that this part will not take a lot of time in the next stages, okay? But it's not like more than 20 minutes.
Okay. I want you to share me your point of view from functional point, okay? This is what I want to say, okay? This is what I want to show for the people.
And this is, you give me the perfect path to continue, because our goal is not to create a beautiful restoration, okay? And this is why I asked the question before. And in comparison with the anterior zone, where aesthetics are important, in the posterior zone, we don't care at all about them. Okay, so forget about aesthetics. What we want is functionality. And I will use the words of Dan Lazar, who says that all these things that a natural tooth has, and we try to recreate in a composite restoration, cusps, grooves, pits, fissures, and all the stuff, it's not because we want to make the restoration look beautiful, okay?
Yeah.
And please, please don't care about it at all. What we want, our goal is functionality. The aesthetics is the result of the functionality, and it will come if you create the correct functional restoration. And it will look pretty. You will judge it as a pretty restoration because it would look like a natural functional tooth. Okay. But what is that functionality that we talk about? Okay. The anatomical elements that we have in a natural tooth and we want to create in our restoration are there because we want to have an effective, stable, and dynamic occlusion, okay, to have a productive malaxation way. But because why do we have our teeth? How we ever thought of that? We have our teeth in order to smile, okay, to be pretty, to talk, very important, and of course, for chewing our food, okay? And this is very important because we can't live without it, okay? But also gives us pleasure. I know that the Iraqis love the food, okay? As the Greeks, we are very proud of their food, the Mediterranean food. So it's very important to create something that is going to be functional inside this process, and at the same time will not create a problem, okay? So they will create the minimal force and stress for TMJ, for the masticatory muscles, for the tooth that we restore, but also for the composite itself, okay? Now, let's see the main movements that take place when we are chewing our food, okay? And I'm gonna talk about them briefly because it needs a lot of time to analyze them, and this is a part of a course, okay, hands-on course. And why it takes a lot of time to analyze them? Because we have to find the critical elements that interact in these movements, that get involved in these movements, and try to be careful when we place the composite at these elements. So, at first, we have, of course, protrusion, which is the forward thrust of the jaw when both condyles are displaced on the same distance. Then we have lateral protrusion, which is the thrust of the jaw towards the working side, with the condyle at this side rotating around its vertical axis. We have mid protrusion, which is the diverse action, the balancing side of the previous movement, lateral protrusion. We have lateral protrusion, which is the combination of protrusion and lateral protrusion, but we don't care about it a lot. Because why? Because it's a rarely used movement when we're chewing our food. And of course, the most important ones. Why? Because it's the least amplitude movements, which means that they produce a lot of stress, a lot of forces in our occlusal morphology, is the immediate side shift movement and the retrusion. Now, by understanding these movements and again understanding the elements that are involved in these movements, what we understand is the places of the teeth that they're going to get the most stress, okay? And we can predict the places that we have to be very careful when we place our composite in order not to overestimate the morphology there. And of course, when it comes to intraoral adjustments, to understand where is the problem, what is the obstacle in the free movement. And also, by understanding these movements, we can also predict where we're going to find the most of the wear, okay, through the years. And we can predict where we're going to find the most common chipping in our composite restorations. Now, the main theory that explains all of that is the theory of the occlusal compass. Is the theory that helps us to understand these movements and the morphological elements that we talked about. okay? And it's individual to any given cusp, and is governed by the position of these cusps in relation to the center of rotation of the condyles. Okay, this is just theory. Maybe it's too complicated. Let's make it simple. What is the occlusal compass? As you can see in the screen, we have some drawn arrows. Okay, but these arrows doesn't correspond to a movement. Okay, as you may think. This arrow shows a direction. Okay, as you can see from the graphic here. Okay. The direction of the drawn arrow shows the area in which the opposing cusp slides, and the color of the arrow is the one that shows us the type of the movement. So, back in the graphic that we have before, okay, let's say, for example, in order to understanding tooth 46, the blue arrow corresponds to protrusion, okay, which is a forward thrust, as we said, of the jaw. But the arrow doesn't have a mesial direction, okay, but a distal one. Why? Because it shows the direction in which the opposing cusp, the cusp of the opposing jaw, slides in. Okay, I think is it clear, Hassan?
Yeah, for me it's clear.
Super.
But one question.
Tell me.
I have one question. Because I in one time of my life I was very interested about occlusion. Okay, I was very curious.
Okay.
And I have took a course on the hand of my friend Stefano Cossa about occlusion, and a lot of topics I've read about it. And the thing is, like, you no matter how much we discuss it, I think we have to imagine every movement as the first slide you have shown. These movements.
So
you have
the thing for me,
imagine it.
Look, the thing, this is, to be honest, the big difference between dentists and dental technicians, okay?
Yeah.
They can check all this in an articulator outside the mouth. We don't have this opportunity. Why? Because we have a living creature, we have a real patient with his mouth open like that, and we're working under isolation, so it's very difficult to imagine all these movements. We have to understand them in order to predict some things, in order to know how all these things work. Okay, so understanding is very important, but we can imagine it in the real time right there. Okay, so what we do instead of that, we have created standard shapes, and this is the part that we have to remember. Okay, so we have created some average shapes that they're the result of analyzing all these movements, that if we create in our restoration, then we're going to have in a predictable way the minimal possible corrections when it comes to intraoral adjustments. Okay, these shapes, they will give you the number of the cusps, the topography of the cusps, which is what inclination of these central ridges of these cusps have, the horizontal inclination of the central ridges, the pathway of the main grooves, the pathway of the secondary grooves, okay, which play also a very important role, and of course, the ideal occlusal contacts. And as you asked me in the start, how much time does it get to create all this anatomy? Okay, yeah. In the start, it takes a lot, but for me, the best analogy I create for you is like morphology shaping, like driving. Okay. I'm so sorry for the ones who don't, okay? I also learned driving when I was old, 29 years old, but this is the perfect analogy I can create for you. So, do you remember your first lessons, okay, with the teaching of the teacher of driving, okay? Your head was like a volcano ready to explode. You had all this information to do all these things at the same time. It was very difficult, okay? Yeah. But after some time of driving, how many times have you asked yourself the following questions? Did I lock my front door? Did I put my seatbelt? Did I turn off the oven hob? How will I synchronize taking my right foot off of the accelerator, press the clamps with my left foot, and move simultaneously with my hand the gear stick in the second gear position, which sounds difficult, okay? Yeah. But you're doing it without thinking, right? When you after some time of driving, you don't think, you just do it. Listen to your music and talk with your friends and drive. The same thing happens with occlusal anatomy, and this is actually the pyramid of competence. Okay, at the start, you have the theory, you have done all the courses, you know it, but you can't do it. This is the conscious incompetence. After that, you go at the level of conscious competence, where you start to try some things. You can do it, but you have to think about it. This is the step-by-step stage. You say, I have to place this cusp there, I have to get this pathway to my central groove. But after some times, and it needs time, okay, patience, after some experience, you go to the unconscious competence, where you can do it automatically without thinking about it. You turn on the music on your dental office, you speak with your dental assistant about the news in his life and your life, okay, right? And you just do it. This is the stage that it will take more than 20 minutes, and it will be very easy for you, okay? But as I told you, it needs time, it needs practice. And this is the stage that you start feeling like an artist, right? Okay, like Bob Ross. I think that the older ones we know Bob Ross, this famous television painter that who imagined happy dental trees, happy trees. I am here, Bob Ross in dentistry, and when I work, I imagine happy dental cusps. Okay, so it's this stage. Now, a very important tip that I can give you, and this is very important for me, is that before you do anything, any process that comes to restorative dentistry in the posterior zone, and you want to create morphology, try to get an articulating paper and check the occlusion. Why? Because, of course, we're going to learn the ideal contact points, but many times we have malformations in the occlusion because we have a tooth in another position. Maybe the patient has lost from perio 1 or 2 teeth from the other jaw. You have an implant in the opposing jaw. And all these things, okay, they will create a different anatomy through the years. So if you are lucky, like in this occasion where you have only one contact in your old composite, the composite that you want to replace, everything is okay. You have a big degree of freedom to create a morphology without interfering inside occlusion. But in other cases that you have here many contacts, you have to predict the final contacts that you want to create. And this is why you want to have a photo of the initial situation. So take a photo, and at the end, you will have the perfect picture to compare the initial and final occlusal contacts. And here is a case that you can see. This is a very simple case with first-class cavities, but you can see that how we can recreate a natural morphology with the use of these standard shapes that are created from understanding the movements that we talked about. Okay, here is another view of the morphology, and the big anxiety always is if it's going to be high, okay, if it's going to be okay with occlusion. And here you can see in 1 or 2 months, I'm not sure, recall photo that everything worked perfectly. And the same standard shapes can be used in more difficult cases. Here we have a patient, a dentist, that came with this big amalgama. I wasn't very, I was in hurry at this point, so I didn't notice this crack here. So after removing my old amalgama, the tooth broke. Okay, so after I finished my cavity, by applying the standard shape method, okay, here we have the final result, which is very similar to the standard shape that we have to learn in a lesson. And here is another view from the buccal part, and here you have the intraoral photo after some minimum adjustments that were needed. Now, a question that usually I get in social media is how can I improve my composite morphology? Okay, what I have to do in order to become better. So, the first thing is the seminars, okay, hands-on seminars. Why is it important to do them? In order to understand the theory and the alpha beta of the morphology, and of course how you can apply it with the use of composite. And very famous morphology seminar is the one from Makoyanos, if I said it correctly. Many dentists have told me about it. To be honest, I haven't attended, but maybe in the future I want to, because I think that it will help me a lot. And also, I have to talk about my own seminar, my own hands-on, the posterior saga, where we don't only analyze the theory, but we try to connect it with how you're going to handle composite in order to apply it in real teeth. Now, then we continue with morphology books. It's very important to use books in order to have better knowledge of morphology. And the two that I want to suggest is the one from Viktor Subakov and dental morphology, anatomy and morphology from Requery. Then we have photography. Okay, photography is very important for two reasons. Okay, the first one is that when you have the opportunity and you find a tooth like this, okay, that has all caries, okay, or it's healthy, even better, it doesn't have an old composite. This is what I want to say. Try to take a photo and go back to your calm environment in home with your coffee or your tea, open your big screen and try to find these standard shapes in real teeth. The second reason is because, just like Zane said, through photography you can find a lot of mistakes in your own work. Okay, so especially when you are in this early stage that you want to create a natural morphology and you want to post your work in social media, go back home, open in a big screen the photos you take, and there you can see your own mistakes and try to fix them in the next cases and become better. Then we have drawing. Drawing for me, and this is why I mentioned it, it was very helpful, especially after I ended dental school. Why? Because by understanding shadow and light and how these are combined, you can understand morphology. Of course, I suggest it only for people that can use pencil, they like drawing. Zane is like a big talent for me in drawing, 100 times better than me, okay? But if you don't like drawing, just forget it. All the other ways are going to be very helpful to you. Then we have wax up. Now, wax up is a great also way to learn morphology. It has a big advantage, and that is the wax leaves you a lot of time to create the anatomy that you want, make corrections, so you can become a lot better. But it has a big disadvantage for me that I do restorative dentistry, and that is the wax as a material works in a different way than composite, right, Hassan? So for someone that is very familiar with wax, when it comes and use a mirror, okay, inside the mouth with composite that has different handling, it's very difficult to apply all this practice that I did with wax. So for that reason, another way is social media posts, okay? Is a way that you can try from the posts of other dentists that you look up to, you admire, and try to mimic their work. For me, very helpful was the work from Thomas Taha, from Alchenko, Kudelis, and Karpenko, very famous dentists, that they give me a lot of inspiration through the years in order to become a better dentist in morphology. For me, that have two big traps with social media. The one is that, you know, it needs a lot of filter in order to find the good quality work out there, okay, because we have hundreds of posts daily, okay, and all this information needs a lot of filter. The second thing, and for me this is very important, it's very crucial, is that social media many times get us stressed. Why? Because we see all this work outside, and I think that many dentists will have this problem with Zain and Hassan also. You look at the work of this famous dentist, and you say, I'm not gonna be that good, never, okay? And I want to be honest, that wasn't my anxiety also when I was in my early stages, okay? But please close the door, okay? Keep it outside of your mind, because with experience, you're gonna be as good as them. If they can do it, why you can't, okay? But in order to do it, you need practice, okay? And the best way to do practice is practicing in casts. Here we have a cast, a photo, and a video of how you can create in a cast or an extracted tooth a very natural anatomy that will be functional inside the mouth by the use of these standard shapes. Okay, and for me, practicing is very important because, as you can see, this was my work in 2015. I was happy when I did it, but now I can see a lot of mistakes. And here you can see in comparison my work. We have two molars, the same molar, okay, the same kind of molar. After 7 years after the first one, and you can see a lot of improvement. I know that still I see a lot of mistakes, and I know that many dentists are angry when I say that, but the truth is that when you are getting into it, okay, and try to understand a lot of morphology, it's an endless trip, okay, because you're gonna see as you're becoming better, more mistakes, and you are hungry in order to become more better and more better. And this is my motto, that practice is the core of evolution, is the one that will get you better. This is the perfect example. Talent is something that does not exist, okay? And if you don't like your work now, with a lot of practice, you will become better through the years. Now, I want to close with the final, more emotional message, okay? And Hassan, do you remember this photo?
I mean,
This photo was in Najaf 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I think,
2
right?
years.
And my message is that we have friends, we have family, but also we have friends that become our family. And I was very lucky in that in my life. Okay, first I had Alexandra, then I found Hassan. He said that it was just something like a coincidence. I say again that it's karma. And I'm a very lucky person because I meet Hassan, okay? Because I love him, he loved me, I think. And my
I love you.
hope and my dream is that with Zain also, because Zain is another brother to me who has spent many times back that talking in long trips, that after many years we're gonna collect a lot of photos like this through congresses, okay, that we're gonna check them after many years and remember the past.
Yeah.
So that was from me, okay.
Habibi.
Habibi.
I have a lot of questions now for all of you, for both of you guys. Where is Zain? Zain, join us, please. So, Nikos, thank you, man.
Tell me.
I have some question until like Zain join, okay? There's some question I write down from the comments from the people. One of them, like they ask like how to reduce the high spot during modeling to the maximum, to the minimum high spot, sorry, to the minimum high spot.
To the minimum,
How
okay.
to reduce it during the modeling, while you are doing the occlusal modeling, how to reduce it.
Okay. First of all, as I told you, needs a lot of experience. Okay. Why? Because this is a very common mistake when you start. I did it a lot. Okay. It's like when you are a cook and you start your career and you put a lot of ingredients inside the recipe in order to become it tasty.
Yeah.
The same thing it's like with morphology.
Ingredient inside the recipe, yeah.
Yes, you try to look with a lot of details. Many times they're wrong details, okay? And you overestimate things in order to create something beautiful. But by learning the rules of morphology, you will know what to place and why to place it there. Okay, you will say that I will place that ridge there, and you will know why to do it. By that means, you will be very careful by creating your morphology, and when it comes to internal adjustments, you will minimize them. But if you have, which is very common, okay, the best way to remove them is with a red handpiece, okay, and with a red bar, a red football, and everything will be very smooth and very beautiful.
Okay, so it's a habit again. I'm always telling like doing things like something in a habit. So when you know why you are doing this, you're gonna just follow the anatomy or the remaining two structure.
You have to know the science behind it, okay?
Yeah.
You have to know the science behind
Okay.
it. And
Okay, so I'm
trust me on that, please. Just only that. When it's many times that you see in social media under isolation the final morphology, and before you move to the intraoral photo, okay, you know that the final result will be changed.
Yeah.
Because
From the
you know the science behind it.
Yeah, totally. Hello, welcome back, Zain, again.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
each one of
Did
you
you
will
miss
have a
us?
question. Each one of you guys will have a question, okay? Each one of you. Okay. Let's take the question in the last comment. Okay. For you, Zain, do you use any liner? What's your bonding protocol? Let's say about liner. Let's talk about liner.
Obviously, I don't use any liner because if you do IDS and resin coating is the best. You're protecting your freshly cut dentine. That's the best you can do. There's no need to use any liners actually.
If you use this, what will happen?
The physical properties of the liner is not as the composite, so it may lead to cracks later on.
Totally, because we are using a fragile material below, like the composite, which is a hard material.
From the properties of dentine, so eventually it will crack.
Totally.
Can I comment something here?
Yes.
The best liner is the correct hybrid layer.
Yeah, with bond. Yeah, totally agree. So another question for you, Nicholas.
Tell me.
What do you think about stamp technique? Give your opinion. I have my own opinion about it.
I will tell you. To be honest, I'm not a big fan. Okay. I've tried it sometimes, but can't give you the perfect result. For me, it's a good shortcut, but only for some occasions, and I will explain you why. If you are a person that is familiar with morphology and you know how to create it and why to create it, okay, for me, use it. In these occasions when you have an attached tooth, okay, you have a tooth that has only caries. But if you are in these stages that you are not familiar with morphology, is a shortcut that will save you time, but you will not understand the function of the morphology that you're creating. Okay? So for me, get in the stage that you understand morphology, and when you start understanding it, then is the time to use the shortcut.
Yeah, but again, like, about stamp, like when we do a stamp, we are leaving one massive composite, curing at a shot.
True.
So at that point, we are causing or resulting in a very high stress.
That's
right?
That's
very right. That's very right.
FMT with it so that you can reduce the C factor.
Yeah, so that comes where FMT comes, okay, by Prof. Louis Hardan. Like when I'm talking about when you cut, you are reducing the C factor. So by separating layers, so we are doing FMT at the end. That's the point. That's the point. Okay, so we are not doing a stamp.
No, I'm not doing it either.
Okay. The question is for you, Dr. Zain. You showed a slide. Okay, these slides like to cut the band to reduce the height of it. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned that the cutting should be always cervical, from the cervical part. Okay. And there's another question coming after that comes to my mind right now. But again, to the question, you cut from the cervical part.
Yes.
Why you don't cut from the upper part?
Well, actually, let me show you guys. Let me flip the camera just to make it clear. Okay, let's go back to the slide.
Okay.
It would be easier to understand this way. So,
Okay.
So in this case, as I told you before, that I have a higher band I need to reduce. Now let's imagine together. If I place this matrix and the contact point is right over here, okay? You can see it clearly. So if I went and go ahead and cut from above, like from the occlusal part, what happened now? Nothing changed.
Just cutting.
Nothing changed. Yeah, because, okay, you reduce the height of the matrix, but the contour of the matrix remains the same. So the contact point will still the same height. But if you cut from the cervical part, from the gingival part, what would happen? You will have to make your band go lower. In this case, the contact point will go lower. Following the contour of the matrix.
Now, so thank you. Thank you, Habibi. Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Again, For you, Dr. Nicholas, Dr. Sarah here is asking, she's asking about we can mix the both technique. What do you think? Stamp and FMT.
I will go again for FMT. Okay, for FMT.
You will
And
go for it.
specialist for me is the best way to use it, especially in patients that you need faster work. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have occasions like that. First of all, to be honest, okay, you have these times that a patient comes late in your dental office, okay, so you have to spend more time, as I said, for the correct matrix selection, cavity design, all the stuff. So you have to create a correct morphology in a faster way, okay. And for me, with a very important part that we often forget is patients with TMJ problems, okay?
Okay.
That they can't stay with the mouth open for a lot of time.
Yeah.
Then
Totally.
you have to create the correct morphology in a fast way. So FMT is the best way to do it.
Okay. One thing also for you, Dr. Zain, the thickness of the BioClear. What's the thickness of the BioClear?
It's about 75 microns. And I saw also one more question: why pre-wedging? This is one of the reasons that why we pre-wedge. When you first place your first wedge, let's say the yellow one, after finishing your cavity, you're going to be able to place another thicker wedge. In this case, to be able to separate more between the teeth in case of using BioClear pad. It will be it's going to be helpful for such a thickness.
No, it's going to
matrix.
give you more space because it's going to it's going to make the periodontal space wider and
Yes.
periodontal ligaments a little bit more elastic, just like laxating.
Yes.
Before extraction, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's also protect the teeth and protect it. Pre-wedging is very good thing. You always pre-wedge before any drilling. We always pre-wedge. Okay.
Hassan, I just wrote.
Yeah.
I read a beautiful question. Tennis Dan says, for other patients with flat cusps, do you still create anatomy or just copy the existing dentition? Great, this is a great question. Okay, as I told you, occlusion doesn't forgive us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a mistake that I did when I was again in the start of my career is to promise to the patient that I can make it better. Okay, and this occasion that you can create a better morphology is that occasion. Okay, when you have a very flat morphology through the years because of wear. In that case, of course, you take with articulated paper the initial morphology, and if you see that you don't have the space to create a correct one, you have to go to a flat morphology, because otherwise, when the patient closes his mouth, everything's going to be ruined.
Yeah. Totally agree. So again, for you, Nicholas, you have your own fingerprint in occlusal anatomy. For me and Zain, we are using the same material, but I'm wondering about you to share it with the colleagues here. Do you prefer to go for dentine and enamel shade for the posterior, or you just go for a universal shade?
Super. That's a perfect question. And I have to be honest to you. Okay.
Yeah, I need the honest.
When I want to have a case that I want to post on social media, okay, or when I have lower teeth in patients that they check the color there, okay, I will go for dentine and enamel, okay.
Okay.
But most of the times, because time is very important in all dental offices, time is money, okay. I don't care about the color in my restoration.
Yeah.
So I will go for ideas, and after that, I will do the cast by cast technique by just using one shade. Most of the times, A2 or A3 will be perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Great answer, bro. So we have a lot of questions. Let's see. For Zain, spot weld after adhesive, right, or before adhesive?
For me, when I place the matrix and the wedge, and I do the adhesive protocol, acid etch and bonding, then after that I would place my spot weld.
Okay. Then again, Another question for you, Zain. After you finish your proximal wall, you showed that you're finished with disc. Okay, of course, these composites will be contaminated. Okay,
Definitely.
so how to re-wet? How to re-wet? You have to re-wet the surface.
The thing I do is to apply ethanol to clean everything, and then to restore the oxygen humidity layer with some adhesive. Universal ball will do just fine. And if you use the 4th and 6th generation, you can use the bonding bottle without the prime.
Okay, so now you are using the universal, right?
Universal, yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Habibi. Okay, Dr. Ghait here is asking, okay, let me answer this one because I asked this question before. Which is the difference between the matrix if you flip it up or flip it down? Like if you want to use the convex up or you use the concave up, which is the correct one? To be honest, like you go, I'll give you my answer then. Goes Nicholas.
No, I want to hear Zain. It's a great question. I want to hear Zain.
Okay, again, it's not adhesive. If we are talking about adhesive, it's something totally chemical. We need a lot. We are dealing with things that we are not seeing. But if we are dealing with matrices, bands, this is the mechanical thing. Okay, so if the convex up or the convex down, it depends on the manufacturer. Okay, some matrices that they recommend to use the convexity up and the other down. But again, it's a mechanical thing. We have to make our brains work in that point, like wedging. When you wedge, you are using a piece of wood or a piece of plastic, right? But sometimes you can use any instrument that you have in your hand. Sometimes you can use the mirror as a wedge. You can use anything as a wedge, right? You can use a piece of Teflon as a wedge. It's a mechanical thing. What's the point of it? Just to have a seal and to make a little bit separation. This is the point. So as long as it is mechanical thing, for the band, you follow the manufacturer. Like BioClear, you have to use it with the slight convex down. But for the other matrices, you can use it with the convex up, or you can use the concave up. But again, you have to modify it in a way that's gonna give you the correct place for the contact area, whether it's gonna be like in the middle third or starting from the occlusal to the middle third, going to the middle third, okay? You can use it in any side, but at the end you have to make sure you have a good seal and you have a good contact area in the correct position. It's a mechanical thing, like wedging. Okay, so it's these things like in aesthetics. We always say it takes a lot of modifications. And that point, it takes a lot of modification. It's not chemical. So feel free as long as you're having a good seal and a good contact area in a good position. Okay, so
Hassan, for me. Let me just add on that.
Yeah.
For me, basically, the convex part of the band should be the concave part. Sorry, the concave part should be at the occlusal side. You know why? Simply because take a look at the marginal ridge. You don't see it convex. You see it concave. From the cusp slope, it goes down. By placing the band this way, of course, you should follow the manufacturer, but by placing the band this way, it will help you guide you to make a perfect marginal ridge.
Yeah. But if you flip it and you have a good contact area, what's the problem?
There's no problem.
Yeah, no. But again, the correct way is to follow like what Zain said, to put the concavity up because we are following the margin. But if you flip it and you have a good contact area and good seal, it's not going to be a problem. The patient wouldn't die. I'm sure of it. Okay. Dr. Sarah again, some cases, okay, this is for you, Nicholas. Some cases there is facet on the cusp also. What did you?
Okay, yes, on the cusp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this one. What do you think? We fill it or we leave it?
No, we leave it. Many times we try to recreate them.
Yeah. Because it's a contact point, 100%.
It's a contact point, yes. It's a place that you have a lot of stress, okay, a lot of forces. And if you don't want to go to a big rehab that you want to restore the dental wear, and you just want to make a filling in just one tooth, you have to recreate it. and you don't have to fill it with composite. But if there are, let's say that you have a direct overlay or a direct onlay that includes only one or two casts, okay? In the third cast, in the fourth cast, you have facets, okay? In the other one, you have to recreate them because they will correspond to the facets of the other jaw.
Totally, yeah, totally. We just leave it or we just create it. Totally. Okay, another question here. Which is your most frequently used of BioClear matrix and size of which on daily dentistry? This is for you, Zain. What do you prefer from BioClear system? Which sizes and which system of BioClear?
Nowadays, I don't use BioClear so much. I mainly use modified saddle matrix. It's much more affordable, and with the modification, you can do much great things with it. Okay.
Yeah.
But for me, if I had to use BioClear, I would go with the size 5.5, and mostly I go with a wooden wedge with it because it gives much more separation than although it's an active wedge that comes with the BioClear, but I still prefer the wooden wedge to make sure that I get enough separation from it.
Yeah, totally.
And it's cheaper too.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Yes,
if we're talking about
try the wooden one.
You can also modify.
Then you go to the plastic
modify the wedges.
Yes. Yes.
Totally. You can modify it. It's the most. These two things are important. We laugh about it, but it's important.
Yes. For BioClear, totally. We go for the wooden, and we love the wooden wedge anyhow because you can modify it and it's very affordable. And for the BioClear, they have two systems, like the one that Dr. Zain is using, the BioFit HD. We mostly are using 4.5 and 5.5 millimeter height, but again, they are all the same thickness. They don't have less than this. The transparent, if it's lower than 75 as thickness, it would deform. But again, he used wooden because he mentioned it. You need as much as separation as possible, even though that's the plastic one is active. Very nice, very smart. And also, you have shown like you are using a ring for premolars, even though for molars, right? With the BioClear.
Definitely. Another method of increasing the separation between the teeth.
Another way.
Because with BioClear, you can easily go and have an open contact. Very easy.
So you are using the wooden wedge. Yeah. You are using the wooden wedge and also with the ring for premolars instead of for molars to increase the separation as much as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All cases here. Oh, smile. All cases you make details or just to show power of morphology or your power to show your muscles.
So tell me again. I didn't understand the question.
There's a question. All the cases you make all the details or just to show the power of morphology or the muscles of your...
No. In all the cases, you look.
We do it simple as much at least, right?
The importance here is to know where you're going to give your effort. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with details, but it has to do where to give the details.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
It's the correct thing is to evaluate, and this is why you need a morphology seminar, because when you do it, you will start also to check at social media posts on Facebook and Instagram. And before you were saying, "Oh, this is amazing! What he done? A lot of details." Okay, most of the times these details are not important.
That's right.
You have to evaluate which of them are play critical role inside the morphology. So yes, most of the times I do all the steps I want in morphology.
Yeah.
But if I generally want to go faster, I would go with FMT because it's a correct way under the correct morphology rules to have functional anatomy.
Totally agree. So, Dr. Zain, for you, this is a question: how to modify the saddle? The saddle comes with one piece and wings, right?
Yeah. First thing I do before using a saddle is to cut the wings.
The wings.
I cut it. Basically, it's going to interfere with the rubber dam, especially if you have a thick gingiva buccally and palatally. It's going to interfere with the rubber dam. And one more thing, I also modify the height of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
First modification I do is to cut the wings.
Nice, and it's also affordable, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, there's a question by Dr. Hamid. This one is how to manage the deep margin elevation in which the margin is below or at the level of the bone? Okay. Who won't take the question? Okay.
First of all, I think Hassan, you're with me on the same page. You cannot get a margin with the same level at the bone because actually the bone will remodel itself.
And if it happens, I want if it happens.
And the times that you get a cavity margin with the same level of the bone is when you are over cleaning, and it happens with me. I think it happened with you guys also. When you're over cleaning, you will end up with the level of the bone. So I think this topic is very controversial between the restorative and the periodontist. For me, I place, if it's 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter, I place the composite normally. I do gingivectomy, and I place the normal, the composite normally, and restore my proximal wall. Because I think one doctor said, I don't remember the name, if the bone can withstand these infection area of caries, it would withstand the good modeled composite and finished and polished composite. So placing the composite 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter away from the bone would not be any problem. And if it is sub-bony caries lesion, obviously you're going to have to go with crown lifting, surgical.
Okay. So you are mentioning you always go for a band, the hard band, to go deeper.
Yes.
This is one of the things. We are using hard band for deep margin evasion, okay? And as Dr.ZRZ mentioned, this is very rarely to go below the bone level or at the same of the bone level, because the bone is always remodeling itself, just like pocket concept. And again, if you reach this bony level or below it while you are drilling in a trauma or traumatized by another dentist, you need to do a crown lengthening at that point.
Also, what I want to mention here is that in the realistic dentistry, okay, it's the perfect plan B when you can't do perio there, okay? You can't go surgical treatment there, or when the patient can afford it.
Yeah.
And we have to always remember that, okay? We have to give a solution.
We have to, yes. Totally agree. So, one last question for both of you. I want Zain to answer me first. How much time do you take normally for a class 2 restoration 5 years ago?
5 years ago? I told you.
Let's say 3 years ago.
Like it took 1.5 hours,
now,
2 hours actually.
And now,
and for this, if you guys wanted to do it at the same time, you're gonna need to have a good boss. You will end up fired if you're taking 1.5 hours for each class 2, simple class 2 you do. But improvement.
Now, how much time it takes?
A simple class 2, not more than 25 minutes. 20-25 minutes.
20-25 minutes. Okay, for you, Nicholas.
Even with the anesthesia and rubber dam and all of it, from start to finish.
Man, you're faster than me.
Yes. Look,
okay, Nicholas. 3 years ago, how much time do you take?
I can't really remember, but maybe 2 hours.
What?
2 hours.
Man, you beat us in this one. And now?
Now, look, if it is first class restoration, it's going to take...
We're talking about
class 2. 50 minutes.
50 minutes. You are sharing me the same time almost. Like Zain is beating us by the time.
But
no, I said simple class 2. Simple class 2.
Simple class 2.
Simple class 2 with the FMT.
Simple class 2. Yes, maybe it's less.
25 minutes.
25 minutes. Yeah.
Maximum.
They always say
I know that. I hope that Alexandra is not in the chat, but I always want to have 10 or 15 minutes at the end in order to take a break, drink some coffee.
Yeah. Okay. We
1
always
hour
say,
and a half, Alex. 1 hour and a half.
Because they always say time is money, right?
Right.
But anyhow, like we know, like there's a lot of dentists that they sometimes take 10 minutes in a class to restoration, but we all appreciate time. Time is very, very, very precious for us. Like time is the best thing that you can give for a friend, for a family, for a job, for a class 2, for a class 1, and everything. Time Time is the best thing, the most precious thing. So when you give it in a class 2 restoration or you give it a class 1 restoration, it's not a wasted time, but also we have to be smart, like how to manage this time to use it to the maximum, but with a shortcut. You know, we have to be smart, yeah, to make a shortcut, but in a very smart way. We have to make it simple, but not very simple. This is the thing, okay? So as long as we appreciate time, I appreciate your time, guys. Really, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Can I mention something?
Habibi.
Super. Look, for me, this what you say is very wise. I want to add something. This is that the thing is that the spirit that you want to have beside it is try to do your best for the patient that is in the chair, like is your mother or your father, right? So you will take care all the steps in the best way.
Yeah.
So when you learn is that that part that you try to do your best, you becoming very good at a specific part, and after you feel very okay with that, okay, very safe, then you will take the shortcuts in order to become also faster.
Yeah.
So first goal quality. After you reach the quality that you want, then you go for the time.
You feel the safe, you go for less time. Yes, totally agree. I appreciate your time, guy. Thank you so much. Thank you for opening your hearts and your minds today. Thank you. You are super. You are super talented. You are super amazing, and I'm very proud of you. Very, very proud of you beyond your imagination. Thank you so much. And thank you all for the people here. Thank you so much from Iraq and from Greece and from everywhere. And have a good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.